Hey everyone, ocean conservation and marine life expert Jaclyn Friedlander here, and today we are on location in Martathon, Florida at the Turtle Hospital. The Turtle Hospital was founded by Richie Moretti in 1986 with the main goal of rescuing, rehabilitating, and releasing sea turtles. Now, 30 years later, they're fulfilling that mission every day while simultaneously educating the general public and school groups about sea turtles. They also partner with Florida universities and assist with research, and they take part in helping to get important conservation legislation passed to protect these endangered animals. I spoke to Richie, and he told me the story of how it all started. This is Richie, and he founded the Turtle Hospital. So can you tell me a little bit about how all of this started?
In 1980, things were very bad in the Keys, and I came down to rescue people during the Mariel boat lift. And the Coast Guard said if I brought any refugees in, they'd take my boat and put me in jail. So I said, well, maybe I'll stay and go fishing. Well, I stayed here a couple weeks and found out half the motels were in bankruptcy and foreclosure. So being a kid from New Jersey, of course, I bid on all of them and wound up with this little motel in the Keys. Came down to go fishing about 3 years later with a dear friend, Tina Brown. And she caught a tarpon under the 7 Mile Bridge. She didn't want to kill it and she didn't want to let it go. So I said, why don't we throw it in the old saltwater swimming pool? I just built a freshwater one. And so we put our first tarpon in here, and it was so much fun being able to swim with my own tarpon that over the next year we filled it with a school of tarpon and snook and bonefish and turbot and jewfish and just everything you could imagine. The pool was full of, and it was just fun doing and swimming with our own fish. Well, the Ninja Turtles came along in 1985, and every child that came in to see the fish all wanted to see a turtle. So I asked the state of Florida, I said, can I get a turtle for my educational program? And they said, they're endangered. And they put a little caveat on the back, unless you do something for them. I said, well, what do you need? They said, we need a rehabber. I used to fix Volkswagens. I figured I fixed a lot of Volkswagens. I guess I can fix a turtle. I said, what do you have to do? They said, well, if a turtle gets hit by a boat, you take it to the vet and you pay the bill, you buy the medicine, you pay the bill, you buy the food, you pay the bill. And when they're healthy, you let them go. I said, well, I think I can do that. The turtles just jumped into our lap and said, help me. And that was 2,000 turtles ago. And we're still fixing them. We used to move the furniture out of the motel rooms and have our vets come in from Gainesville and cut off tumors. Then we put the furniture back in and rent the rooms. At least now we have a hospital.
Right, and you don't have to worry about that.
So over the last 25, 30 years, we've had a lot of improvements. From when we used to just cut the tumors off and sew them up, to now we can use lasers and observe them, and so we can do a lot more creative work. They come in, hit by boats, tangled up in fishing line, the other things that can happen. But we're right here. We have 3 ambulances that run up and down the Keys. We keep somebody on the phone 24 hours a day. So if a turtle comes in anywhere, we have an ambulance on the way. I got to tell you, my staff that run the ambulances, they can drive with one foot and pump and breathe with the turtle with their other foot.
Wow, that's really impressive.
It's been 30 years this year, and I'm still as excited as I was when an ambulance pulls up with another patient. I'm just as excited to go see what's coming in as I am excited when I get to go take them out. We look at each turtle as that one turtle might make a difference in whether your grandchildren ever see a turtle. When you see us using lasers and scopes, people say, how can you afford to do that on turtles? It's real simple. Each one of those is an endangered turtle, and there's something that we want to make sure goes on in the future.
Yeah, the question is really, how can you afford not to?
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for telling us your story and for all the amazing work you're doing. We really appreciate the tour of the facility and learning about everything that you're doing.
Well, you're so welcome, and thanks for spreading the word. Those people that see what you do, maybe they'll know to close their drapes so the lights don't bring the turtles, and they'll throw away their fishing lines so they don't get wrapped around the turtles. So it's all good. We work together.
The Turtle Hospital is open to the public for guided tours every day. Tours start on the hour and reservations are encouraged. You can find a tour schedule at www.turtlehospital.org. There is a visitor center and a gift shop with a lot of great turtle information and a really cool turtle exclusion device display. The way this net works is shrimp trawlers use it, and the shrimp that they're fishing for get caught in this area of the net, but this cage right here prevents turtles from being entangled, so what happens is the turtle stops here and is able to swim down and be freed out this side of the net. I learned so much during my visit to the Turtle Hospital. The facility manager, Betty, answered my questions and gave me a behind-the-scenes tour. We are here at the Turtle Hospital with Betty today.
Hi there.
What are we going to do today?
Welcome. We are going to feed these green sea turtles some greens.
Excellent.
The green sea turtles are herbivores, so their primary diet is made up of seagrass. That's what they would eat, seagrass and algae in the wild. We have romaine lettuce, which acts as their greens, so I'm sure they're going to be happy to get some. If you want to help me, just put them in there. You just
drop them?
Just drop them in there, and it won't take long for them to figure out what's going on. The outside of their carapace or shell is made of keratin. Same thing as our fingernails and hair are made out of.
Where are they in the rescue, rehab, release process?
It's a good question. They're kind of in their later stages of rehab. What you see in here are green sea turtles that had the fibropapilloma, that's a big word, fibropapilloma tumors. All their tumors have been removed, and what we do is keep them for a year after the tumors have been removed and make sure they don't regrow. Because what happens is when the water turns warm, like this time of year, that's when they tend to regrow. So we keep them through a warm season, make sure they're still tumor-free at the end of that, and then we release them back out to the ocean.
And what causes that virus that creates the tumors?
That's a good question. It's a herpes-type virus. It's been around and documented since the 1930s. The challenge is it's more prevalent now than it's ever been. It's only found in and around developed areas, which ties it pretty much to human impact. But they don't know how it's transmitted or exactly where it comes from.
So these are green sea turtles. Do you have all 7 species of sea turtles at this facility?
We don't, but we are lucky enough in this part of Florida we see 5 of the 7 species of sea turtles. What we have not seen physically at the Turtle Hospital is a leatherback turtle. They get up to 2,000 pounds, but we have gone out into the ocean and disentangled them. The good news is we've been able to just let them go because that would be a hard animal to rehabilitate, although it is possible.
And why are the leatherbacks hard to rehabilitate?
They're very large in size. The other thing is they don't have a hard shell, and their skin, pretty much if you touch their skin, it's very sensitive and tends to rub off. I have worked with a leatherback sea turtle at another facility. They are really a challenge to rehabilitate. The other thing is they're deep ocean dwelling animals, so they stay far offshore in very deep waters. By the time you see them and they come to shallow waters where they're rescued, they're usually so sick by that time that it's kind of past the point where you can help them.
So this one right here floating with this shell out of the water, what happened to him?
That's Corey, and he's what is known as the bubble butt syndrome. You can see he has a black mark on the back there. That's actually a lead weight that helps him to be able to dive to the bottom. Unfortunately, some of the severe boat strikes where it severs the lower spine, they're left as what we call permanent floaters, and they're non-releasable. We do try to help aid them to go to the bottom with the weights, but we can't release them with those weights because I talked about how the shell, the outer shell, is keratin. Well, that grows for their whole life and it sheds, similar to your fingernails, so that weight is eventually going to fall off. Not all boat strike turtles have the bubble butt syndrome, and what also causes gas like that, makes them float, is an intestinal infection. So sometimes you give them the antibiotics, fights that infection, and then a great day is when we come in and see them on the bottom, someone that's been a floater. And we'll see a big loggerhead turtle out at the other enclosure that had come in as a floater and a boat strike, and we weren't really sure. And just last week we came in and Bubbles was on the bottom, so we're very excited.
Amazing.
That is his ticket back out to the wild. So, but Sam has been here long enough. I think probably he's a permanent floater, unfortunately.
Does Gator get his name because of a gator attack? Or?
Well, if you look, he's missing a very large part of his shell. He also had injuries throughout his body that looked like conical shaped teeth. So the person that rescued him named him Gator because we feel very strongly that he's probably attacked by a gator. Nobody knows for sure.
Generally, what is the timeline from rescue through rehab to release? I mean, I'm sure it's different with all of them.
Depends on the injuries. I would say the longest time, we've had a turtle here is upwards maybe 3 years. Some of the tumored turtles with the fibropapilloma tumors, if they have a heavy load and they're debilitated, we need to build them up before we can do surgery. And then once the surgeries are over, we keep them for 12 months after that. So as you can imagine, that turns into a lot of time. The shortest time, we actually had a turtle 2 weeks ago, was a nesting female, and got trapped in somebody's front yard because it was following artificial light to go back to the ocean, and ended up going in front of this big beautiful home, but then couldn't get back to the ocean because of a fence. And we picked her up in the ambulance. We didn't even take her out of the ambulance. We brought her here, just did a quick checkup in the back of the ambulance, and released her within 2 hours. So
That's great.
that's probably the quickest turnaround that I've seen.
The record. So I see Ellie is a hawksbill.
Ellie is a hawksbill, which are a little more rare, but we do see them in the Florida Keys. One way you can tell hawksbill, besides the profile, which looks like a bird or a hawk, where they got their name, but if you look at the scutes, that's the plates on the back of their shell, on a hawksbill it overlaps like shingles on the roof. And that's the only sea turtle that does that. If you notice now in the loggerheads and the green sea turtles, they kind of fit together like a puzzle piece, but the hawksbills actually overlap.
Interesting. So I noticed in this tank the lettuce floating at the bottom. I imagine that's some sort of enrichment?
It is. Green sea turtles, in the natural world, they would eat seagrass, which is found at the bottom. So we try to simulate that with the lettuce by putting a clip on the bottom, and that's going to encourage emerald to go to the bottom to eat the lettuce. Copper is a juvenile loggerhead, and you saw the adult over there. And one thing, do you notice something about this one's back?
It's very bumpy.
It's bumpy, and those ridges, we think Mother Nature gave them to the loggerhead sea turtles and make them look a little more scary when they were young, because everything eats baby turtles. So copper is part of a Head Start program, which means we will keep copper till the carapace or shell is 45 centimeters long, and that's going to give her a much better chance of survival out in the wild, because only 1 in 1,000 hatchlings makes it through their first year.
The Turtle Hospital is doing amazing work to help these endangered animals. If you want to help too, here are a few easy things everyone can do to help. Don't use plastic bags. Sea turtles often think bags are food when they end up in the ocean because they look like floating sea jellies. Instead, use cloth reusable bags. If you live in a city where sea turtles nest, make sure your lights are covered during nesting season so turtles don't get confused and follow your lights away from the ocean. Make educated seafood choices and only eat fish that are caught without hurting turtles and other endangered animals. Seafoodwatch.org is a great resource for that information, and my favorite, participate in beach cleanups. Join in a cleanup to help remove the pollution that millions of turtles and other marine animals and seabirds ingest every day. These are just a few of the many things you can do to help. What a fantastic day at the Turtle Hospital, watching how they rescue, rehab, and release these sea turtles. If you want more information about the Turtle Hospital, visit turtlehospital.org. And if you want more information about Friends with Fins, friendswithfins.org. Thanks for watching. See you next week.